The narrative begins with the MC, Furuashi, who walks through the school corridors as a group of girls notices him. They cheer, call his name, and say they're fans, wishing him well on his upcoming series. He responds calmly, thanking them and telling them to look forward to it. Fuda describes the scene mockingly, calling the moment silly and the youth a facade. The show, Bokura no Kisetsu, nicknamed Bokisetsu, is a high school romance drama that has become wildly popular, turning into a cultural trend, so much so that students have begun skipping their studies and extracurriculars just to try their luck in its auditions. His classroom is filled with the most beautiful boys and girls. After all, it's the set for Bokusetsu, and he's one of its stars. As Ashi steps inside, students immediately recognize him, commenting that with him around, the class feels unbalanced and he'll likely overshadow everyone else. The boys envy him for being too attractive. Ashi sits at his desk reading when Haruma approaches and greets him, happy that they ended up in the same class again. Ashi returns the greeting without looking up. Haruma asks why he's already reading so early, and Ashi replies that it's a high school romance light novel. Haruma gets excited, realizing it's the type Ashi always reads, and asks to see it. Ashi refuses, saying the book holds his dreams and ideals. Another student remarks that it's too early in the day for all this noise. A girl named Asuka enters and greets Aokun. He compliments her, saying she's as beautiful as ever. She smiles and asks if that's his way of flirting. He says she can interpret it however she likes. She chuckles and heads to her seat. Kirishina Asuka beauty is compared to that of a morning drama actress, with a soft demeanor that touches hearts. She notices Ashi watching her and asks what he's looking at. He quickly denies it's anything. She guesses he was staring at her face, which flusters him. Then she softly reacts, as if suddenly realizing something. She offers to adjust Ashi's necktie, and while doing so, mentions that he won't gain much popularity if he doesn't pay attention to his looks. Ashi, while standing still, notices that she smells sweet. After fixing the tie, Asuka says, "All done," and he quietly thanks her. She then smiles as she extends her hand, asking Ashi to return the favor by fixing her appearance. He nervously watches her hand move closer and swallows hard. Suddenly, she steps back and laughs, saying she was only joking and warns him not to get too comfortable touching girls. Ashi responds awkwardly. Haruma comments on how close they seem, catching her off guard. She hadn't noticed he was nearby. He laughs it off, telling them not to mind him. Asuka, unbothered, calmly takes her seat, composed as always. Ashi watches her, wondering how she can act like nothing happened. That unshaken composure, he thinks, is exactly what gives her the image of the perfectly pure Kirishina Asuka. Suddenly, someone tugs at his cheek. He yelps in pain, demanding an explanation. It's Ima, and with her usual bright energy, she loudly greets everyone. Ashi glances over and casually notes it's just Ima. She winks playfully and suggests they get along well again this season. Turning to him, she teasingly asks if he's enjoying his school life. She jokes that he should be thrilled. He's the first one to see Ima Tasa this term, so why the star expression? Ashi replies dryly, saying she makes it sound like seeing her is a once-a-year event. She grins, unfazed, and declares her beauty rare enough to be a national treasure. Without warning, Ima throws her arms around Asuka, commenting on how she somehow manages to be both elegant and alluring. Asuka laughs, asking if that's meant to be a compliment. Ashi watches the scene unfold, thinking how naturally soft and charming the atmosphere feels around them. Ima pauses, as if remembering something. Haruma greets her, saying he's looking forward to another good season together. She also didn't notice him. She remembers something, and then calling to Asuka, Haruma, and Ashi that a certain person called them. As the four walk down the hallway, surrounding students whisper and stare. They're called the Bokusetsu Big Four, a name spoken with a mix of admiration and envy. Asuka and Ima are seen as untouchable, while Haruma and Ashi are praised for their cool presence. Ashi mutters the title under his breath, finding it hard to take it seriously. The Big Four are the main cast of Bokusetsu, idolized so much that some students abandon their own school lives just to transfer here. Ashi quietly mutters that it's not what it seems. They arrive at the principal's office, where a lively woman greets them cheerfully, calling them the sparkling gems of Bokusetsu. Holding an energy drink, she asks if everyone is gathered. The students point out she's actually the one who's late. She shrugs, saying she can't function without her energy drinks. She introduces herself as Kifune Ai, the acting principal and chief executive producer of the Bokusetsu project. With a confident smile, she tells them she's counting on them again this season. After finishing her drink in one gulp, someone remarks it doesn't look very healthy. Kifune pulls out a folder marked confidential and says it's time for the main topic. She reveals the new season's script, explaining that while the public believes Bokusetsu is all about spontaneous, real-life romance, it's actually entirely scripted. Ima skims through the script and gasps in disbelief, realizing that she's suddenly being written into a close relationship with both Ashi and Haruma. She appears shocked and confused. Ashi and Haruma note that it already looks like a love triangle and agree that the season might get chaotic. A narrator explains that top-tier cast members are assigned roles by the production team, and the so-called reality is entirely constructed. With a dramatic flair, Ima jokes that if people say she's getting a harem, then she has no choice but to accept it. She playfully announces that by the end of the season, she'll have both Ashi and Haruma. She calls to Ash to take a photo of the moment. The group laughs and claps, while Ashi notes her expression. Seeing her quiet, Ima quickly apologizes, asking if she upset her. Kifune turns to Asuka and asks if she still holds on to past resentment, and whether she's truly ready to return, but she puts on a polite smile and apologizes, saying she'll stay composed. She and Aokun were paired in the previous season, but the choice wasn't theirs. Turning to Ashi, she asks if he agrees. He nods silently, but he reflects that they have a choice. Now a new chapter begins for Bokura no Kisetsu. The host steps up in front of the class and poses a question. Who among them will find lasting love this time? Ashi, watching silently, thinks to himself that they had that will, emphasizing it in the past tense. He continues his thoughts, recalling how he and Asuka were a couple last season. He had fallen for her the moment they met, and the day she confessed, it remains his greatest memory. But then the storyline was pulled away from them by the hands behind the scenes. He lowers her gaze and quietly tells Asuka he can no longer be with her. A flashback shows their breakup, the moment Ashi, having just landed his first scripted role, is pressured to follow the script. He recalls ending their relationship and silently vows never to fall in love again. His thoughts are interrupted as the host suddenly announces an unexpected twist, a surprise addition to the cast. Ashi looks surprised, wondering who would require a dramatic entrance. He notes that apart from a few familiar faces, most of the current group is new. The host then calls out for the special new member to come forward. A new student, Kizuraji Karen Amelia, introduces herself, revealing her mixed German-Japanese background and previous attendance at the German school in Yokohama. The other students admire her beauty, comparing her to the school's top stars. Amelia shares that her goal is to follow her heart and find her first love through Bokusetsu. The host welcomes her politely, while Ashi quietly thinks that although the idea of first love is sweet, this place isn't where it can truly be found. He can't look away from her striking appearance, overwhelmed by her radiant blonde hair and flawless skin. Suddenly, she turns around and softly calls him her first love, revealing she's dreamed of meeting him for a long time. She then boldly confesses her love to Ashi, demanding he answer her request to be her boyfriend. Shocked, Ashi realizes that in this school, the idea of genuine youth feels like an illusion. He suspects she must be joking. There's no other explanation. She stands before Ashi, waiting for his reply to her confession, while other students watch quietly. Our boy looks tense. Some students whisper that confessions are usually written down, and others comment on how sudden this moment is. A student filming tries to stop the scene, but the boy remains silent and uneasy. Another student urges stopping the recording, then someone enters loudly to break up the situation. The filming group pushes forward, insisting the show must continue, while the girl asks the director to stop things before they get worse. Someone notes Ashi still hasn't answered. Ima and Asuka comment on the strange situation. Amelia leaves the office and apologizes quietly for the day, with someone noting she seems to have received a stern lecture. Amelia sighs, surprised to see Ashi. He waves and asks if she's surprised. Amelia admits she never expected to meet Fudo Ashi from Bokusetsu there. Ashi jokes about charging a fee to see him, making Amelia blush and stumble over her words as she asks how much. He says he's just kidding. Amelia asks if he overheard her lecture, but he shows no interest. When she asks what he wants, he reminds her that her feelings are already out in the open and says he'll give his response soon. Realizing it's awkward to keep talking there, he suggests they move elsewhere. Amelia agrees, though unsure where to go. They head to the rooftop with a pleasant view, and Ashi invites her to sit, while she looks nervous and sits down. He asks if Kizuragi is also interested in bokusetsu, and she nods while mentioning her worry about breaking the bench. She admits she missed her chance to behave well and confesses that Ashi is her first love and bokusetsu is the reason she desires no one else. Ashi senses her sincerity and imagines a future together, realizing this confession is rare and genuine. He asks for time to respond, leaving Amelia uncertain. Ashi tells her their connection feels like friendship for now and that a vague answer wouldn't be fair. He says this isn't a simple yes or no, and he's keeping things open, calling it the worst kind of answer. Privately, he thinks someone only admired isn't worth much and encourages her to move on, even joking she could slap him if she wants, but he still wants more time to get to know her. Amelia quietly waits, agreeing to wait for him and wanting to keep getting to know him, surprising Ashi. She happily offers to exchange contact info and promises to treasure it. Later, Ashi sits alone on the rooftop, thinking about renting an apartment in Shonen. He receives a message from Karen wanting to know him better. Feeling uneasy, he invites her to visit after the next shoot, hoping she loses interest. At school, Emma greets everyone at the entrance and invites them into her friendship room with energy. Ashi stays quiet, wanting to go home. Emma proudly introduces the space, says the principal approved it, but Ashi keeps his distance, not wanting to owe anyone. Emma encourages him to try it and calls him a bokusetsu superstar. She asks if he wants to discuss future shoots, then loudly closes the door, saying there will be no more interruptions. Ashi feels uneasy, sensing something is off and that even as a boy, he feels unsafe. Emma steps closer, squeezes his cheek, and jokes that anyone can face harassment now. She laughs, calling Ashi's reaction adorable. In response, he claims it's fine as she falls for him. Ashi awkwardly says he's glad, and Emma laughs that he'd be in trouble if she really fell for him. Emma suggests they sit and talk, saying the sofa isn't meant to make people lazy. She sits, looks at Ashi, and reminds him they've always been like friends, but are supposed to be a couple this season. Ashi wonders if she feels uneasy about him as her bokusetsu love interest, but she quickly denies it. Emma reflects that her feelings, though started as pretend, became real through bokusetsu, comparing it to playing house and always falling for whoever she was paired with. She calls herself the girl who falls in love the most at school and admits this time feels different. Ashi feels overwhelmed, realizing he's been faking feelings while Emma's come to feel things naturally. Emma says she knows his strong will and believes that if they grow closer, they won't stay just friends. Ashi admits he only meant to help her improve, but now feels unsure. Emma smiles, saying he understands her well and praises Ashi's reliability. Emma thinks their relationship will change if he sees her as more than a friend. Emma moves closer, looks into Ashi's eyes, and suggests they move beyond friendship. She excitedly proposes eating sweets and talking to get closer. He sighs and tries to explain, but Emma asks if he's okay as he looks flustered. She playfully leans on him, teasing about expecting something inappropriate. He asks how long she'll stay close. Emma apologizes, says she's fine with anything, asks his favorite candy, offers some, and tells him to guess the flavor with his eyes closed. He agrees and Emma leans in, kissing him gently. Ashi freezes, speechless. She pulls back with a soft smile and quietly announces they're no longer just friends. Emma asks if the candy tastes good. Ashi holds her gently, saying he has a rule against wasting food. Then he leans close, suggesting they finish it together. Playfully, Emma teases that she'd heard rumors of Ashi being a charmer who frequents love hotels. He reacts sharply, asking who's spreading such rumors and reminding her he's still underage. Emma reassures him she's joking but continues with a soft smile. They share another gentle moment, and Emma says it cleared her mind. Being playful with someone handsome can be refreshing. Ashi leaves with her, slightly unsettled. Later, Emma wonders aloud if leaving a cozy place, even a love hotel, leaves a lingering feeling. She asks if he feels the same. She then smiles and calls Ashi a gentleman. As they part ways, he reflects on how powerless Emma's presence makes him feel, yet also how Kizuragi brought out a forgotten, sincere side of him. Staring out at the cityscape, he wonders whether he did the right thing. Aoshi then buys something from a store and thanks the cashier at the counter, who giggles softly. He thinks about how easily he can deceive himself about his own emotions, an uncertainty he fears he may never fully understand. Later, Aoshi rings a doorbell with a small bag in hand and greets the person inside with a warm "sorry to keep you waiting." A voice welcomes him back as the door opens. As he walks in, Asuka greets him with welcome back and asks where he'd been. He hands over the bag he brought, a souvenir, and she thanks him quietly, remarking that he's late. He shrugs it off as personal errands. She notices something, perhaps the scent or the lipstick, and teases him gently, suggesting he's been with Emma. Ashi's eyes widen, realizing that must explain the bakery's giggles. Asuka, with a soft smile, says he needs to be punished for keeping secrets and leads him to a quieter room. She tells him to calm down and assures him she isn't going anywhere before quietly inviting him to rest with her. Asuka waits, feeling lonely, and admits that being apart made her realize how strong her feelings are for Ashi. He apologizes gently and tells her she can do whatever she needs. She leans in closer, confessing she can't wait any longer and truly loves him. Though hesitant, he replies that he cares deeply for her too, if she's certain. In a quiet, emotional moment, they reaffirm their mutual affection and trust. Asuka, tearful, softly says his name twice while being embraced. She tells him that even though she was skipped earlier in Bokusetsu, she still can't give up on him. Ashi responds tenderly that he loves her as well. Understanding the risks and emotional stakes, she asks him to take responsibility for the emotional upheaval. He apologizes, explaining it was part of the role but heartfelt nonetheless. That day, Asuka decides their relationship remains secret and heartfelt. Fortified by that promise, she declares she still loves him and can't let go. Then a knock interrupts them. Ashi asks Asuka to step aside to answer. She opens the door to find Kizuragi standing there, surprised. Asuka, stunned, greets her by name. Kizuragi shares her own shock at the encounter. Kizuragi appears shocked to see Asuka at Ashi's place and addresses her in confusion, while Asuka also seems surprised and hesitates to respond. Kizuragi questions why Asuka is there and if she might have entered the wrong room, and Asuka nervously wonders the same, trying to smile. Kizuragi then asks Asuka about being in Ashi's house, clearly troubled and confused. Looking upset, Kizuragi exclaims Ashi's name, overwhelmed by the situation, and runs away in tears as Asuka silently watches. Ashi comes out, looking down and feeling guilty, while Asuka faintly smiles and asks if he planned everything. He quietly admits he set up the situation hoping Kizuragi would give up. She calls him a bad person for it, while he insists Kizuragi deserves someone better. Kizuragi points out that Asuka would do anything for Ashi and reminds him that Kizuragi is the girl everyone talks about. Ashi replies that the only girl he wants to reveal his true self to is Asuka. She shyly covers her face, and Ashi teases her to stop acting like a fan. Asuka recalls their promise not to move forward until they officially became a couple. Ashi says it's not that he doesn't want to, but he'd feel dishonest doing so right now. Asuka feels relieved, glad his hesitation isn't because he's lost interest. She hugs him from behind, resting her head on his back, and says she knows it hurt him to push Kizuragi away, but that he has his own kind of sincerity. Ashi admits it's just his way of being kind. Asuka tells him she feels lost without him, quietly calling his name. Ashi gently holds her, tells her he loves her, and Asuka, smiling, asks if he really means it. She laughs, saying he always responds like that. Ashi reflects that kissing two girls in one day makes him feel like the worst kind of person, even if some of it was acting. In Bokusetsu, he plays Emma's boyfriend, but off-camera, his heart is with Asuka. He wonders what Kizuragi saw in him that day. Later, Ashi finds Wakaba-senpai on the rooftop, smoking and staring at the school. He tells her she shouldn't be smoking, and she calls him a puffed-up playboy. He addresses her as Wakaba-senpai, who reminds him she's 20, older than everyone else and repeating high school to stay on Bokusetsu. Wakaba teases him, and Ashi says he's just here to relax. She guesses he's stuck in a love triangle again. He's surprised, but she says he's too easy to read. She tells him she plans to focus only on Emma this season and skip the Cinderella Seek event, a game where boys find scattered girls on campus, aiming for attention and possible romance. Wakaba jokes that he's wasting her time and maybe planning to sell information again. Ashi plays along. She gets quiet and starts reflecting. When Ashi asks if all the effort is worth it, fame, attention, pretending, Wakaba admits that everyone's chasing recognition without really knowing why. Even she is unsure if it's truly what she wants, despite how much she's sacrificed. She changes the topic, bringing up the rumors about Kizuragi. Ashi admits he teased and pushed Kizuragi away on purpose, trying to teach her not to fall for appearances. Wakaba scolds him for playing with people's feelings, then adds that Kizuragi's background is a mystery. No school records, no selection data. She even offered money for information and found nothing. Ashi is surprised by Wakaba's warning but brushes it off, saying it's over with Kizuragi. Wakaba cautions him that things in Bokusetsu aren't that simple, especially when emotions are real. She adds that Kizuragi isn't after a casual fling. She wants something serious. Checking her phone, Wakaba urges him to hurry, saying Cinderella is waiting. Shocked, Ashi realizes Kizuragi is acting out. He runs toward the hall where she is waiting. She calls out, asking if he still loves her. Ashi, confused, wonders why she's still acting this way after everything. She calmly asks if he still came for her despite all that happened. Ashi remembers they're supposed to use character names during the simulation and asks what she's trying to do. She replies that her feelings aren't so easy to erase. Ashi admits he hurt her and thinks she should hate him. She clarifies that this is her revenge, and he should accept it. Kizuragi grabs his tie, telling him not to run. Ashi realizes the cameras are rolling and this moment could ruin the scripted triangle. She gently touches his face, silently holding the moment. They stand together in front of the cameras. Ashi, tense, begins to understand. This is her way of taking control. Kizuragi looks ahead, thinking to herself that she's a coward. Still, she promises her first real kiss will be only after she and Ashi are truly together. At the shooting site, she shares that her first kiss will be saved for when she and Ashi have mutual feelings, urging him not to overthink or see his feelings as a mistake. She believes it is unfair to think someone could be hated for something like that, and does not want her first love treated as trivial. Ashi reflects that there are plenty of better guys and thinks that would be better for Emma, but Kizuragi remains firm that it must be him. She admits that, as this is her first love, she does not fully understand her feelings, so she trusts them and decides to move forward, declaring her love for Ashi, knowing these feelings will not change. As the camera focuses and silence fills the room, she recalls how she knew Ashi was only playing with her when he invited her, yet she felt compelled to go, unable to speak to her mother and crying from anxiety. By the time she arrived in Shonen, she had resolved to confess her feelings. She confides that Ashi ruined her first love, played with her, betrayed her, and crushed her heart, so she kissed him to leave a lasting mark. Although it was not on the lips, she wonders if it affected him and whether it was enough. Despite everything, her heart still longs for him, and she admits that being held by him brings happiness. Even if he is a scoundrel who came only for her, or if she ends up discarded, she is willing to be his girlfriend, even if only as a pretense. Ashi rejects the idea of being her boyfriend, but she accuses him of being dishonest, questioning why he holds her so tightly. She feels she has finally reached his heart and wonders if there is still a chance to be his girlfriend, asking him to choose her for the special two-shot during the free throw shootout. Ashi remembers Karen had encouraged him to invite her for the special two-shoot, a compulsory event where boys invite girls on a date and girls cannot refuse, with participants chosen after a free throw contest. He knows that the script has him face off against Haruma for Emma and expects him to lose, but considers giving his best. The script won't proceed as planned unless Haruma wins. Haruma feels genuinely excited to compete, reflecting on how much Ashi has changed. He remembers that Ashi hasn't taken the Bokusetsu stage since last summer, which makes the chance to perform alongside him again even more thrilling. During the scene, Haruma passes the ball to Ashi and remarks that with Ashi's talent, even the script might change. But Ashi, calm and focused, quietly thinks to himself, he has no intention of changing the future that's already been decided. Ashi, however, does not plan to alter the predetermined future. The camera captures the scene as background chatter continues. Ashi decides to return before filming resumes, and overhears the group agree that Kizuragi is the target for the special two-shot, and whoever wins will invite her, with plans to share the spotlight. Realizing the group is teaming up to get close to the new girl, who cannot refuse, he recognizes this as typical in Bokusetsu. They believe Kizuragi's pure heart and inexperience as a new member will make her easy to trick. The boys see Ashi and asks if he overheard everything. He confirms he heard it all from the start, but he encourages everyone to do their best, reflecting that he was once on their side. Ashi admits to himself that he would normally have ignored it and remembers being on their side himself, but now he resolves to defeat them, believing Kizuragi deserves better. Ashi tells Haruma he's changed his mind. They'll stick together until the end. Haruma appreciates it. Outside, the match continues. The boys watch, expecting the usual outcome. One comments that only Ashi and Haruma remain. Haruma offers to choose Emma, noting that neither of them takes dating seriously. They see Bokusetsu as a stepping stone, and romance would only hold them back. He deliberately misses his shot, saying he wants to see how Ashi moves the story forward. When it's Ashi's turn, he hesitates. Should he win and change the script or let it play out? He wonders who he'd invite and what his true feelings are. A sign in the crowd encourages the boys to kick the girl they want to invite after the shoot. During filming, Ashi chooses Karen, asking her on a date. He reflects that in a world full of acting, Karen shines with genuine light. If he reaches out, he knows she'll gladly accept.